No, I'ma put it down like that. I'm leaving, I ain't coming back. You don't like the way I act anyway. You really don't have to react. Don't try to change my mind, in fact. Honey, I've already packed all my stuff. We're no longer kids, let's move on. And you are not my kid, so I'm done. Please don't make me pull my gun. Sorry boy, I can't be the one. You know it, yeah, nothing lasts forever. You know that a change will make it better. You know that nothing lasts forever. You know that, yeah, a change will make it better. There's no one to blame, you see. Maybe we're not meant to be. There are plenty more fish in the sea anyway. Every day's a different thing, so I'm not into wedding rings. It ain't personal, it's the way I think, yeah. You know it, nothing lasts forever. And you know it, yeah, that a change will make it better. You know it, yeah, that nothing lasts forever. You know it, yeah, that a change will make it better, 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 better.
Hey, welcome to Live in the O. You know, this is a show we talk about entertainment, lifestyle, and the community here right in Orlando. My name is Omar. Tremaine, where you at, baby?
All right. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy, Mr. Right Choice. And today I got my boy, with my boy Omar. We got a special guest for you guys real quick. Go ahead and knock it in real quick, Omar.
You know, we here at Live in the O, we got to give our proper introduction. So bear with me because this guest that we have deserves a proper introduction. You know, here at Live in the O, we love to give our flowers while people still smell them. We love to say that. And today's guest, he deserves a whole garden. This brother right here is a world-class athlete. He's a record breaker. He's a hometown hero who took Pine Hills, Florida, and put it on the global golf map. He's a world long drive champion, the first black man in history to win the world long drive championship back in 2018. When he unleashed a 393-yard rocket down the fairway in Oklahoma that changed golf forever. He competes on the world stage all over, from televised golf events to the European long drive games to being crowned a 2015 and 16 Volvic World Long Drive European Champion. This man didn't just show up, he dominated. He's been recognized by the likes of NBC Sports, the Golf Channel, ESPN, and even named one of Golf Digest's top 100's most powerful people in golf. But what makes him special isn't just his power, it's his purpose. He's used the same drive to launch scholarships, youth programs, and community partnerships, including mentoring at the OMYJ, the Orlando Minority Youth Golf Association, which my daughter takes part of, and creating pathways for the next generation of young athletes who look like him to find a place in the game. He's a global athlete, a philanthropist, an advocate, but at his core, he's still that kid from Pine Hills who believes he could do something different, then made the world believe it too. So today, we're celebrating this man, the mission, and the movement. Orlando, let's go ahead and put your hands together for the legend himself, Mr. Maurice Allen. Welcome to the show.
What's up, man?
What's going on, Maurice?
That sounds weird, man. Nah, just a kid from Pine Hills, man. 4949 Silver Star Road, man. Nothing else. That's it.
It sounds crazy hearing all that. When you hear your life put together all in one little take, it sounds crazy, don't it?
I mean, I'll be honest with you, there's more stuff than I remember. That's the kind of like the cool thing about it is when you're doing it, you're not doing it to check boxes, right? You're just doing the job that needs to be done. So that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah. Tremaine, you have to fix me. There's two of you. You know, I like to see you, but not that much. You got
Oh, why you just not saying that?
boy.
I thought you was in love with yourself, Playboy. We thought we were gonna let you just do it.
Yeah.
No, I'm about to fix
We'll
that joint
fix we'll
right
fix that.
now.
We're gonna fix that before we go into the first segment. But
Go
With
ahead.
that. There you go.
the
Hey,
reason the reason why we wanted to bring you on is that we were like, yo, we go online and we don't see anything to do with Pine Hills. You know, I cover a lot of real estate topics. So is Tremaine. Tremaine works there on the daily. But I do a lot of real estate and I focus on a lot of the richer areas of Orlando. And there's areas that are just a complete black hole as far as media attention is concerned and as far as like actual representation is concerned. So in talking about that, we're like, yo, who's the best man that can help us, that we know that can help us talk about it, know their journey, and help bring light to it. And that's when you came up. So that's the reason why we invited you on the show.
uh, that's humbling. I appreciate it. I might not. I'm a person who can talk about it. I'm not certain that I would say I'm the best, but we'll see. We'll
Well,
give it an hour and then we'll let you be the judge.
we'll see. There's gonna be stories to be told. Trust me. We're gonna dig it out. But
All
Tremaine, you
right.
ready for the first segment?
Yeah, so let's go ahead and dive in on this first segment real quick and talk about this. So real quick, Maurice. So the first segment we got right now, the drive behind the man. Talk a little bit about your beginnings in Pine Hills and what inspired you to be where you at today.
Honestly, man, I don't know. It's one of those things I believe that you're led by something bigger and greater than yourself, right? And so I was always taught as a kid that I had the responsibility to uphold the hard work and dedication that my parents and my grandparents and my great grandparents had. You know, I was one of those individuals who was lucky enough. I think my great grandmother died when I was 8 years old. So to be around somebody who was born in the previous century before they were, to have that knowledge, to have that ability to learn, listen, and things of that nature. And honestly, I'm probably the least famous person in my family, which is hilarious. So I had big shoes to fill.
What?
Mm-mm-mm.
That is something that changes everything, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, because me knowing you, we go to the gym together or whatnot since I've been at Evans. Your story is definitely inspiring, especially everything that you do, especially and also what you do for giving back into the community. I heard your story a couple of times. Your mom is pretty cool. She's really funny. Talk about turtle people. That's an inside joke. So I know you started at Evans High School. People don't know when we say Pine Hills, you went to Maynard Evans High School, which is in Central Florida. You started your journey really in the track and field. How did golf? How did that lead? Did you do any golf or anything while you was in high school? Ever thought about golf in high school?
Absolutely not. No, no, no chance, man. My dad, the only game I've ever seen my dad play entire life. You know, some people their dad plays, flag football, softball, pickup basketball, something like that. I'm not being funny, but with the exception of, throwing the ball with me or something like that, I don't know if my dad was athletically gifted enough to play any other sports. Honestly, I don't have a clue. I do not have a memory of my dad doing anything with his peers other than playing golf. I never saw him, you know, hey man, I'm going to the park to play basketball or I'm going to flag football or anything like that. He enjoyed watching these other sports in basketball, football, baseball, all these other things, but it was never something that I ever saw him participate in, which, it is what it is. But, he played golf my entire existence and obviously golf then is not what it is today. Today golf is a very lax sport. It's a it's not a very inviting sport, but it's becoming more tolerable of black and brown people. And
Ooh.
back then, it was not at all. So I won't use the word inviting. I won't go that far. But it's also a game where you have to. There's a lot of life lessons in it and things that you have to be quiet for. And so a kid who was not trying to be quiet, no little kids trying to be quiet. Especially you playing baseball and all these other sports where you can be loud, you can do whatever you want to do. It just my personality did not fit with golf in that particular time. So it wasn't something that I was going to go do. I did it to spend time with him, but that was it. And it's not something I took serious. I didn't play junior golf. I didn't do things. I think I was in the OMYGA, Doc will tell you, for maybe 2 weeks tops. My
Mm.
dad tried to put me in the program,
You,
and
you know,
then
you
I
know,
was,
you know. Doc told me that. Doc told me that. He
yeah,
loves to
so
say some stuff like that.
person I'm the only person Doc has actually coached as an adult, because when I met him, I was a kid. But I mean, I think what happened, I was in middle school, and then I think I ended up winning county in track or something like that. It was either that or I went to nationals in track. And I was like, man, I'm out. I was one of the top runners in the nation at that when I was younger. So it was like,
Hmm.
What
nah,
did
I'm
you
going to.
run?
At that time, I was 100. Well, I was a sprints and jumper, and then I ended up becoming a decathlete, and I became national champion of the decathlete for 4 years. So it was one of those things where my pathway was, I thought, was going to be to the Olympics. And so, I was in a great place. I was at a high caliber travel, if there is such a thing, an elite. You see Florida is elite right now, but the team I was on, there was literally 12 of us, and we were the top people in the state at that time. And we had a Nike sponsorship, the whole 9 yards. Like, it was some wild stuff that was going on that is more common today. But then, there was a time frame where if you had certain shoes or a certain outfit, you only way you got those was you were sponsored or you were a top dog. And so it's not like today where everybody has custom this and custom that. And so yeah, I didn't play golf at all. Wasn't anything that I wanted to do. And my dad somehow, some way, made sure no matter what, I always had clubs at the ready, but I never used them. And when I was at Florida A&M is when it all kind of changed and transformed. My last 3 weeks of school before graduation, and kind of the rest is history.
Well, that's a good story, and I'm glad you broke into that. So, while you done with the last 3 weeks, I know that story while you was at FAMU. Breaking into the sport that doesn't often look like you. Talk about that.
I mean, you got to be a dog. At the end of the day, I don't know no other way to say it. I mean, you just got to be an absolute downright dog. You got to know who you are and what you are. I mean, I tell people all the time, honestly, I had no choice but to be successful. You look at my life where it is now, and there was no choice. I mean, Trey, you done met my mama. Like, ain't no choices. Like, you do what you told to do, not what. There's no asking you anything. And my mother always demanded a certain level of excellence, but within that, growing up, and I think that's one thing you see that doesn't work very well with kids today. Everybody's trying to be their child's friend. And there's a certain level of adversity, there's a certain level of toughness that you give a kid that makes them comfortable in their skin, regardless of where they go. There was never a room I walked in and I walked in the room like, should I be here? I always walked in the room with my head up, like, even if I ain't supposed to be here, I'm here. What you gonna do about it? And
Makes a lot
as
of
long as I,
sense.
yeah, if I wasn't doing anything wrong, I wasn't disrespectful, I was following the code of etiquette and etc. Like, I'm supposed to be in this room, and I dare you to come up here and tell me I'm not supposed to be. And that's something that was instilled in me from the time my parents were telling me that.
That is so interesting because I think people don't cover that part of getting into a sport, right? Where they act differently, they talk differently, and did you have like this level of like self consciousness while you were there, or were you always just I'm unabashedly here, let's get after it?
I mean, for me, it was different because, this is, as much as people don't want to accept it, but there was a difference in the world pre George Floyd than there was post.
Mm,
Social consciousness was not there, even with black people. Forget white people. I ain't even talking about them. You
wow.
always hear about black people code switching, and you hear about black people, having two different faces, and they're this way. They have this voice when they're here, and they have this voice when they're there. I mean, if you go and look on it, if you can ever find the video, 2018 when I won my first world title, I said that I was one of the answered prayers of slaves that were beaten, raped, and murdered in the fields on national TV.
Mm,
And so I don't know too many people that's going to get on there and see something like that. And, I got blackballed.
Mm.
Fans are butts about it. I mean, I got so blackballed for it. They told me an hour later I was going to be blackballed for it.
really?
And, it was like, I don't think this is the time or place where you
That's
should have
crazy.
done it. And I was like, well, are you black? And he said, no. I said, well, then you can't tell me when it's the time or the place. And so that's a
Just
hard clip for you
just
to
keeping it
find.
real.
Yeah, NBC edited that out. It aired
Of course
live.
they did.
You will not find that very many places. Um,
Well, we're
but
not. I'm gonna tell you right now.
but it was a thing that I felt was necessary, because for me it was uniquely special. It was different, Like I said, my great grandmother. I mean, I come from a family where my mother was over the space program at NASA. She was over the space shuttle program. The movie Hidden Figures, my mother is literally one of those women.
That's
She
crazy.
was over every space shuttle that ever went up in the history of the space program. That was what she did. And you look at her today and she doesn't say anything about it, right? She just trays matter. She just calm, cool, collective. My stepfather was a principal on 4 different levels. He was elementary, middle, high school principal, and Gateway, which was a special needs school back in the day. My dad was the first black convention center GM in the history of the world for the most part, but definitely in the U.S. and I mean outside of Africa, obviously. But he ran the largest convention center in the world, and he held the everything from the PGA show to the plastics to everything under the sun that was there. And my stepmother was over parks and recreation and had a lot of things, names of parks and things that like that were going on. So I mean, that's just in my immediate family. If I go to my outside family and everything else, it gets worse. I mean, one of my aunts was a freedom rider. My coach, obviously, Dr. Dorsey, was a part of the Love School out at Meharry and Fisk when he was there. He was a part of the civil rights movement. One of my other uncles was one of the guys who marched with Malcolm. Another one of my uncles was Fred Hampton's,
Well, you
number
know your
4 guy.
whole history.
Right. And so, like, that's why I tell people I had no choice but to be great because there was nothing but greatness around
Yeah.
me. And I got the fact that my grandmother was a maid when she first started and my grandfather was a janitor. And most importantly, my great grandmother was one person removed from a slave. So I understood every time I stood up, I had the term now is
Represent.
standing on. But the business that I stood on was the people who came before me, not the people who, I'm trying to impress or make them feel comfortable by dimming my light. That just never made sense to me.
Yeah, now when you say you're the least famous person, I get where that comes from when you just went down that whole line. The one thing that's impressive to me, and I wish I knew my family like that, to be honest, you knew a whole list of your whole family all the way down the line. That's something that I wish I can say about my family. My uncle came in town and I would ask him a lot of questions that he didn't really know. And my grandma passed. I never met my grandfathers because they passed me when I was born, and then them are questions I need to ask them, her or my aunt, to get more detail about my family. But just listening to that it tells me how your character is. So to go to the next part is like, listen to your story. What was the key moment when your career took off?
Ooh, key moment when my career took off. That's funny because I literally am doing. I just submitted the TED talk about this, so that's funny. It would
Good. We get
be
we
so.
get a sneak peek right now. That's what's
Yeah,
up.
you get a sneak peek, which is funny. So a lot of people don't know this, but a very near and dear family friend who's been there for I don't know how many years in my life, who is just like most black folks, when somebody's around long enough, they become a part of your family, right? They become an extension. They become your uncle or your aunt, your cousin, whatever the case may be. But the thing that changed my life, I will honestly have to say, is Julius Irvin deciding to sponsor me for one season, and um,
Wow.
that changed my
Man,
life
that's
because
dope.
he did not. He had a friend, and I was around. I've been around Jay my whole life, but and that's just my aunt to me. Like it's nothing, you know. Um, that's why I say least famous person. Like we can go down this line of people that I've been around, and it gets completely out of control. But one of his friends asked me what was the difference between me and the number one player in the world at the time. And looking back at it now, the answer I gave, I could see how it was absolute BS to anybody, because I said money. And I've learned through the course of my own research, because I've sponsored a lot of the black golfers. And honest and truthfully, money is not the thing that stops the majority of them. But for me, it actually was, because I didn't have the money to compete. And he put me out for a year. He was like, let's just see what he does. And literally, I became number one in Europe in that year. And then I went back the next year. And then I came number one in the US the next year. And then number one in the world, won my first world title. And looking back at it, I asked him, what is it that you saw? And his answer was simple. He said, it takes one to know one. Right. So
Mm.
and as he said, quote, there are not many of us out there. And I said, us what? And he said, goats, which is a very weird thing.
Ooh.
I don't know if that's third or fourth person. I don't know what person that context is used within, but it's interesting to hear people in other sports refer to me as a goat. I've heard it from him, Jerry Rice. I can go down the list of other sports people who have referred to me as the GOAT in my particular genre. And I believe that greatness always inspires greatness, but it also always recognizes greatness. If you look at, W.E.D. Du Bois talks about the talented tenth. If you go back even in the biblical days and you look at Jesus with the lepers and only one of the 10
Mm.
turned around, there is a unique understanding and recognition of greatness amongst great individuals that takes place, and they can really decipher the difference between the real and the fluff. And so to me, it just seemed like he was doing something nice for me because he loved me and he had been around. But the more and more I look at it, because even if you look at, the first time I was on ESPN, I remember calling him and I asked him, I was like, man, you got any advice for me today? And he was like, today is your introduction to the world. And lo and behold, a clip that starts and goes, during the NBA finals, during prime time, Sports Center, blah, 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 blah. And he called it right before it happened. And then, fast
Wow.
forward another couple of months, then the Ric Flair clip comes out and that turns into something stupid. Then I find myself, 30 days later in Bristol at ESPN during the Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather fight, being the only person in my sport to have ever been on ESPN Live, in a sport that most people never even knew existed. So, I think it stems, that was probably the biggest break I've had, but I can't discredit the hundreds of people that I learned so much from along the way, and the people that instilled little things of confidence in me, or just, affirmations of, hey, you're on the right track, that type of thing.
Man, that's what's
Man.
up. Dang. Hey, you took it up a notch, and I got them clips too.
You do. You got it pulled up? I want to see it.
No, the Ric Flair. I'll pull it up though. I'll pull it up. Yeah. So
Okay.
real quick before we
The
go to
first one
transition.
was, the first one, it was wild because it was June and I was smart enough to know that there were no sports on that day. Hockey was on the off day. NBA Finals, Stanley Cup and NBA Finals were both on the off day. Baseball was not really doing anything, no exciting games. And the only sport that I was competing with was collegiate women's softball. Even Omaha was off that day for the Men's College World
Bro,
Series.
your recollection is next. I have what in the heck, bro? Your ability to
Oh,
go
bro.
down into this.
It's
You're going down into
crazy.
this segment, bro. Are you serious?
And I know it. And I
Look.
remember standing up there because I went purposely to Walmart, which was down the street from the grid that we were competing in, and I got these foam sticky letters, and I put ONYGA on the top of my hat so that the world would be able to see it. And I remember telling them, like, I ain't care nothing about the NBA Finals, I ain't care about the NFL, that we were the greatest athletes on the planet. And then it just went to a storm of, you know, ESPN, and it was wild because I didn't win that tournament. I remember my brother called me and I was, I was bummed out. I think I finished third, T3, or yeah, I finished T3. And when you lose, you don't answer the phone. And he kept calling me and he kept calling me. And like after about the sixth or seventh time he called me, I was like, "Yo, is everything all right?" And he's just yelling and screaming on the phone. And I was like, "What happened to mommy?" Like I'm thinking something happened, to my parents or something. I was like, "Dude, what's going on? What's going on?" And like he stopped screaming. He was like, "You're on ESPN." I was like, "Man, we lost, man." He was like, "No, get to a TV." And I was sitting in a not Chick-fil-A, KFC. I remember he was like, "Get to it. It's coming up again. It's coming up again. Get
What
to the
year
remote."
was this?
This was 2017. So I was in Mesquite, Nevada. And I remember running. My girlfriend at the time, we ran hard to get to the hotel. And lo and behold, the way how they shot the story and the way how that segment ended up on ESPN, you would have thought I won. Like they didn't show and it was wild because they didn't show long drive. They showed me. Like they showed me hitting the ball. They showed all my. They didn't show anyone else, and I didn't win the tournament. And that's when I realized that I was so much bigger than the sport itself. But most importantly, not saying I'm bigger than the sport. It's all about me. It was like I had a duty to make sure that I fulfilled growing not only the sport but the avenue and the lane for more Black and brown people to play this game.
Yep, I can hear it, man. But listen, let's go ahead and move to the segment number 2. While we got him here, let's go ahead and talk about the real Pine Hills.
Oh, this is
We're gonna talk about it. Tremaine is new. Tremaine, how long you been here? How many years?
How many years have I been here? Hold on a second. I'm trying
5
to get
years?
this thing going. No, I've been here for 9 years.
9
oh
years.
that's
Okay. That's
that's a
not new
long
at
time.
all. Never mind.
Nah, it's long, but
So
yeah, we'll
I
get
got
to it.
here. I got here in 1992. I came in from Puerto
Okay.
Rico, and I grew up on the east side. And there was always this difference between east side and west side. Everybody always talked about it. And west side, the dominant force was, of course, Pine Hills. That's where all the athletes came from. That's what a lot of times that's where the culture was at. When you're talking about, I'm a hip hop head, did music. That's where everybody hung. Like all the cool kids went into Pine Hills. But if you look at the media, that's not what
Mhm.
you're getting. You're not getting that version of Pine Hills. You're getting this often misrepresented. So when you hear people talk about Pine Hills, what do they get wrong?
Everything. I mean, there's nothing that they get right, and I don't mince words or bite my tongue when I say no one gets it right. The Black
Mm.
people don't get it right, and the white people don't get it right either. So you almost have the blind leading the blind. The white people want to say it's this ghetto, horrible, crime-filled, ridden area, blah 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 blah, and then the Black people want to say, oh, we thugging it out. This where it's real. We keep it trill. Da da da. All this other foolishness. And
Mm.
this, I always ask people in a community, in an area, what is the most valuable thing to that area? It's the people, right? Wrong. It's the land. The most valuable thing in any of those communities is always going to be the land. So I always tell them, look up the land, look at the lot sizes, look at the acreage or whatever, however you want to look at it. Look at the
Oh, I do.
houses and what on, right? And if you go into the original Pine Hills, so we're talking about Rosemont, we're talking about Off Powers, we're talking about really that block between Claro Coe and you could take it as deep as you want to. You can go, what's that?
So it's Robin Woods and Pine Ridge Estates. Those are the first two neighborhoods of Pine Hills back in
Right,
the 50s. If you want to get a
right.
little early.
People
The
really
houses that
talk,
are low ceilings, they got like maybe 2-3 bedrooms max. The bathroom is outside the bedroom. Those houses.
and so then I ask people that was in the 50s, but then you move to the late 60s and 70s, and then the question I ask them is who's living in Pine Hills. I check people to
Ah,
go any yearbook of Evans High School, and it's not until you get into the mid '80s do you get Black people. People forget that there were two golf courses in Pine Hills. One of them was Rosemont, which you can still see a little bit of it. If you're a golfer, you can kind of see it. You go around the lake and you're driving around. But the one that you'll never know is right there where the fire station by the McDonald's. There used to be a golf
The
course there too.
the country club.
hmm And so what they don't know is this was a place that used to have a naval base, and all the officers lived in Pine Hills. They didn't live in the actual naval area. They all lived there. That's where your Martin Marietta folks lived as well. And so you had a very affluent area, which is why you see a third of an acre to potentially on some places a half of an acre lot where homes sit on. But the vast majority of your homes sit on a third of an acre if you go back to the homes built in the 70s, because they
By the
were
way,
really
I got a lot of military people that follow me because I've been in the military many years. Martin Marietta is Lockheed Martin, and they're still here. Just FYI, everybody. But
still
sorry,
here,
continue.
still here to this day. But and so when you look at it, they were targeting those individuals to move into this area. And then just like anything else, you get a few black folks that move up and then everybody wants to leave out, right? And when I say they get it all wrong, the black people get it wrong because they want to say this is the hood, but it was never designed to be such. And unfortunately, we're in a position where we don't know how to take care of our own things. We don't know how to keep our property value. We don't know how to keep the curb appeal. I see it time and time again. We throw trash on the ground. We do all this other stuff, and then we get all upset because the city is not coming in to help us. But at some point, as black and brown people, we got to stop waiting on white people to help us, and we got to govern and police and help ourselves. I mean, it's
So
not their.
let me help you out with that a little bit. Let me give them some bail on this. So what you're referencing just now, there's an actual term. I'm a real estate agent, so there's some terms I can't use when it comes to legalities. But there's a term, you can go look that up, or what happened where people left the middle class suburbs and went somewhere else, which is what he's referencing. The other bigger term is there's a lot more rentals than anywhere else in Central Florida in Pine Hills. And anytime you
Mhm.
get where people are renting, you got people who don't care about the place that they're living. And a lot of it may not even be just black people. That's any race altogether. But it just happens that you're discussing the folks in which you're discussing.
And so what we run into when we look at this, a lot of it is culture, though, right? And so there's three things that you have to look at in culture. Is number one is the respect. So when you're dealing with people coming in, if you have renters, if you treat them like renters rather than an extension of family, they're probably going to treat you terribly, right? They're not going to look after your stuff. The other part of it is, how are we policing ourselves, which we have a tendency of not doing a very good job at it. And I get it. There's a lot of people struggling. I'm never going to downplay the struggle that is truly taking place, and how there are people who can't afford to live where they work, and so on and so forth, and the minimum wage and all of these different things. But then the other thing that we also struggle with are the fact of the overwhelming amount of immigrants that live. And it's not saying that immigrants are a problem. The problem that we're running into is when you get a bunch of different people from a bunch of different places, it's, do they do this or do they do this? Right. And so if everybody's fighting to get a crumb at the table, and no one has ability to communicate, or what is cool in this culture may not be cool in this culture, it might be offensive, or what is the norm or what is acceptable over here may not be acceptable over there. But when you come to one melting pot, everybody has to find a way not to get along, but to find a way to thrive. And unfortunately, I mean, if we're going to be 100% honest with you, what you're seeing is very similar to what was done back in the 1500s and the 1600s. It's just everybody's with their own actual families now. There is not like when
Mm,
the slave, when they would totally take people and rip them apart from their families, and they had to find ways to deal with that trauma and make new families. And I think that's one of the things we're always focused on.
interesting.
We're not focused on the things that make us uniquely special, and finding that way to cohabitate and work together and collaborate. I honestly feel like some of the best and brightest talent in Central Florida is in Pine Hills, but it's suffocated. it doesn't have the ability to shine the way it should because everybody's kicking on everybody the whole way. You have some people who are trying their hardest to make it and to do better, and then you have some people who have given up and they don't have that motivation, and all they're on is a destruction to tear and kill the world as much as they can. I see it a bunch of time with the kids that I mentor. I laugh because I see a bunch of these kids out here doing whatever it is that they do, and I'm like, man, you come from a good home. Like, what is this about? This isn't
And you
even
know they do. They mommy and daddy sometimes admit it there, man. Come on, what you doing?
right. Like you come. I mean, you're not about that life. Like for real. Like let's not even like no, but seriously, like if you, I mean, every older person has been around somebody who really ain't got nothing to lose. Like, and that's a scary individual in real life. Like in real life, a person who ain't got nothing to lose will kill you in a heartbeat and everybody around them, including themselves.
Sheesh.
Right. And so,
But that's not
like,
who
I
they
think,
are. That's not who they are.
yeah, and there's very few people like that. There's very few people like that. But we are the one of the few cultures that literally glorify destitute. I don't understand it. Like it throws
Uh,
me off. The poorer we are, the better
we're
we
gonna
are. Like
we're gonna have to discuss
what?
that on different, man. That is a deep. You're going hard on that one. You're going hard on that one.
But so then when you talk about the real Pine Hills, that's a part of the real Pine Hills because we have this amazing piece of land and property with, I
Mm.
mean, crazy amount of value. But what's going to happen is, the gentrification word is going to come up eventually, and people are
It
going to
was gonna
get
come up
pissed off.
now.
Right. People are going to get pissed off because, oh, they're moving us out. They're raising the property tax. They're doing all these different things. It was like, well, we had it and we didn't protect it. And like at some point we have to be our own protectors and our own police.
So you're being very vocal about giving back. That's what I hear here. Like it's giving back in a way. Um, what is your vision on what Pine Hills could truly be based on what you just told me?
Man, I think it could be something uniquely special that people can learn from and strive. I commend the people who are going out here and building these tiny house villages in the middle of the woods and all this other stuff. And there's black folks with money leaving with other black folks with money and leaving and going away. And you're doing the same thing white folks is doing. At the end of the day, it's very simple, man. Um, every end of May, early June, every school in Central Florida got a bunch of kids that leave. And you can have one of two people leave. You can have kids who got an education and got a hope and they have a thought that their life can be something amazing and have a dream, or you can have a bunch of knuckleheads that don't give a damn and ain't got nothing to lose. I try to help the knuckleheads because at the end of the day, I'm going to become an older man. You're going to become an older man. My parents are becoming older. And I don't want that dangerous person with nothing to lose to inflict any bodily harm on me, on them, or lose the God given gift and ability that they've been given. Because everybody's here for a reason. And a lot of times we lose our best and our brightest through desperation and lack of hope.
But
Uh,
what could it be? What could Pine Hills be?
it could be what it once was. It could be a place of black excellence. It could be a place of brown excellence. It could be a place where you take these immigrants, you take these Haitians, you take these Islanders, you take these Jamaicans, you take the Bajans, you take all these people, and they have their own place where they are doing something brilliant. You are taking Evans High School and turning it into a place where people want to go to learn, not a school where everybody's trying to stay away from. It's a school where everybody wants to go. You enrich, you get better teachers coming, wanting to come here, not people leaving a week before school starts because I found a better deal. You get a place where people truly love it. We change the way this whole thing looks. We'll do our part. We pick up the trash off the ground. We make it look clean. Therefore, when the city comes, they have to fix the potholes that are there. They have to make sure the lights are there, working and in working order and all those different things. Make sure that it doesn't flood on a
This
hard
this is
rain.
what I'm hearing. Correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like you want Orlando to be a cultural center of Orlando.
Oh yeah, Pine Hill should definitely be a cultural center. It should be one of them though, because like here's the thing: when you go on the other side of town, you have your Hispanic culture that traditionally on the east side, right? That's a thing. Well, no, traditionally that's always been the thing, right? That was where all of your Hispanic people were, and all your Hispanic Islanders were over there.
Were
Your Islanders were. But and so it happens in every city, but it's a place where these people are able to thrive and represent their cultures freely without any, and let the talent shine. I mean, every culture has something amazing about it. They're not terrible. I mean, obviously, in today's world, and depending on how you are politically, people think that all immigrants should go, but I don't.
yeah, but even so, do you think Orlando has a culture and then Pine Hill has got like a lot of piece of that in it? You're talking about 1950s. Orlando
Yeah,
isn't the
I mean,
Orlando today when that was established.
yeah, I mean, I think there's so many pockets of culture in Orlando. I definitely think Pine Hills is one of the big ones. It doesn't have the same culture as what was next door, but it's close. Ocoee had a culture that was phenomenal until, you know, the massacre. But it's, I mean, this is the whole thing about, when Trey was talking earlier about not knowing his history. That's why I try to tell young men and young women it's so important to be able to write and read. That's why social media could be something so amazing. That's why that digital media magnet program at Evans is so key, because it gives us the ability to do our own research and tell our own stories that no one's ever going to tell. Because what happens is no different than, Monday was Columbus Day. We'll use that in air quotes. But you know, you and I spent our whole lives growing up thinking Columbus was the man, only to find a different enlightenment of it later on in life, right? But here's the thing: the person who gets to write the history books gets to tell the story. And so,
So
if you write,
so
if you
I,
write
I'm
the
I'm
story,
laughing. I'm laughing, but you going so hard. Like I'm a real estate
I,
agent. We can't even talk about literally half of this. I can't even talk about half of this. Not even a quarter of this, and you going hard in the paint.
I mean, but it's honesty, right? So think about it this way:
Yeah,
I get to call you an evil red savage because I decided to walk up to your house and knock on your door, and you wouldn't give it to me.
Lord, that was
So that's
Monday.
the yeah, that was Monday. Still 1492, still celebrated in 2025. Craziest thing ever, right? But that's the beauty of what Trey's doing over at that program. It gives us the ability to tell our stories. It gives us the ability to tell the truth, an accurate depiction, not this whole thing, my truth versus your truth, whatever the hell that stupid stuff means. I don't believe in that. I believe there is one truth that is solely based on facts. Everything else is perception. But how can I empower these young people, or how can I empower anybody to truly understand the real Pine Hills if they don't know the truth about it? They don't know the facts. They only know what they
Correct.
see. And what they see is depicted in the media as a turf war. I mean, think about it.
100%.
Last year, we gave $140,000 in scholarships away, and not one media story covered it.
No, it
Don't
did
worry,
not.
we are gonna cover it. Trust me, we're
Well,
gonna
no,
cover
he
this.
knows I cover everything, but I will say this about the media thing. He is correct. Because what's kind of funny, he mentioned that today in my class, I teach a college class too, Cambridge, and I talked about what does media mean to you, to that class, because for Evans, we don't really have a voice, and people don't really recognize the school, even though we're a B school right now. And then it comes to my job, basically, at the end of the day, to enhance our kids in the media world to spread our voices behind the
Well, hold
lens.
on. When y'all say media, what are we talking about? You're talking about the news, broadcast. You're talking about
This the
these
media,
Any form of media, any
any
form.
form of media,
well,
any form of
stuff
media.
like this. Stuff like this is what's going to change it. Our reach, your individual reaches, can go way farther than they can, and way more tactical. I believe
100%,
that. I
100%,
know that.
yeah, yeah, 100% correct. So, we're not on OCPS. Don't really. They come every blue moon, but like he said, he comes to the school. He just came to the school today, giving kids opportunity to record him. He does stuff at Boys and Girl Club too as well in the
Fire.
community. He gave $140,000 last year. whatnot. Even for myself, I was able to help a couple of students get cameras and laptops to make sure that they can enhance their skills. But like he said, a lot of stuff is not talked about in our community at all. And when I say our community, I own it because my wife went there, her family went there. So, I call Edmonds my home, just like they call it their home, because I walk in there with pride. I did leave there for a little bit, but I know my purpose. That's why I'm back, just to make a bigger impact. Like he said, it's not all about the schools, the whole community as a whole. And real estate is definitely one. Without the real estate there, nothing else will grow. No other. We need land. There's so many more opportunities and whatnot in Pine Hills area. We need more people like Maurice to come back and give. We're missing that big key there. He's only one person or whatnot. Need many of him to make a really, really big impact. If you only have him, there's only so much he can do, but he's still doing it at the end of the day. But I know we talked a lot about that, so we're going to go ahead and transition over to the. Let's go ahead and transition over to growth real estate in the future. Go ahead.
Yes. Let's go ahead
Go ahead.
and go right into segment 4. So we're going, as you were, we're going into segment 3. So growth, real estate, and the future. So you mentioned something towards the end that was super, super cool. Well, you mentioned the deep part, which was Ocoee and its deep-seated history, which, you can go all over the internet and it's there if you choose to. But Ocoee also just is doing a $1 billion development that is going to bring a lot of attention over there. Knowing that they're doing that, what do you think Pine Hills can do to bring that kind of attention to Pine Hills?
So I think the difference between the two is Pine Hills is landlocked right now. There's not many open spaces to put anything new. I think the first thing that needs to take place in the area is there has to be a manner of upgrade and code enforcement with a lot of the apartments that are going on in the area. I know, even from the outside, when you're driving down Pine Hills Road, you see some of these places. They need people. Some of the apartments look the exact same way now as they did back in '90 and change.
Correct.
That's not it, right? I mean, and just because you have people living in it, you have to show people a different mode of respect. And they've made their money 6, 7, 8, 9 times over. They're in a high profit at this point. It turns into greed and a lack of respect for the individuals that live in those places, whether it be that there are no upgrades from a standpoint of carpet, paint, etc., to countertops, to safety precautions, whether it be the gates, the camera systems, all these different things that people need. They should be able to live in the place and feel safe and not feel like the place is run down. I've been to, we give out turkeys every year. We do Christmas drops. We do all kinds of stuff. And I've seen some of the apartments right there close to Evans High School, and I couldn't imagine some of them. I mean, a couple of years ago, we were just paying people's electric bill. We give people $250, $300 on the electric bill. Just show up. Hey, here you go. Like, we're not selling you the money, but bring your bill. We're going to pay your bill right here in front of you. Pop, pop, pop. Now, what you do with the blessing of that money is on you. You can either catch up with it. You can do whatever, but we're going to pay your electric bill. And seeing some of these apartments, man, it was absolutely madhouse crazy to me to see how they were treating people, and that's a sense of pride. Like, if you're and it's not even a matter of your house isn't clean. No matter how much you clean it, there's certain things that have mold in them. They have faucets that are dripping, water sitting, there's bubbling on the ceiling from a leaky pipe on the thing above, and all this. And those aren't things that make a person want to continue to go and do better, because at the end of the day, I'm out here struggling and pushing and trying to do what I can, and this is the best that I can do. I mean, that's a killer of confidence.
So I want to chime in on that. So I mentioned that before. One of the issues that's in the Pine Hills area, and why so many people move out. People want to do better. People want to be better. So if you look over to Ocoee, you look over to Wakava. I'm just using the close areas. Wakava, Maitland. They have all these new
Even
complexes.
Apopka.
Even
Yeah,
Apopka. That's all these. So what happens is you want to move, you want to be better. Nothing's wrong with that, because we all want everybody to be great and take levels up. But what happens
No,
is
we
all
don't.
them kids. Shut up.
No, we don't. That's the problem. That's the whole problem. No, everybody don't want
Oh
everybody to be
Lord.
great.
No,
No, if they
but see
did, we
that.
wouldn't have this conversation. I'm just being honest.
Mm.
I'm just being honest. If we
Okay,
wanted everybody to be great, if we wanted everybody to have a decent standard of living, this conversation wouldn't even be a topic of discussion.
but we
Valid
have a
point, Maurice,
conversation that.
sir.
But, but we have a conversation. But you are correct. Everybody doesn't have that mindset. We do definitely want that. But
Let,
that's
let
the
me
other
let me let
reason.
me tell you where he's
Go
right real
ahead.
quick. Let me tell you where he's right on that. A couple weeks ago, I just closed on a house. I moved them over to Sanford, but before I went to Sanford, the price point they were at was perfect for Pine Hills. It's
Mhm.
for first time home buyer. Boom, bro. We get around the corner. What do you think was on the streets right in front of the dang house? This is on the public streets that could be 100% code enforced. 100% code enforced.
What
They had a
caution?
Trash.
car. They had trash, car on blocks, like nothing, and it has been sitting there for a minute. And
Mhm.
I'm like, my guys, like, how in the world could we not enforce that with code? I mean, chime in. Let me know where I'm wrong on this, on how that could happen.
Not wrong. But here's the thing, though. Here's the first things first. So I work with my boy Seven, and we haven't done it this year, and we will start back in November. But we used to do a trash pickup every 2 weeks. Just walk down, Pine Hills Road, walk down Silver Star Road, walk down Hiawassee Road, get trash,
Goodness.
pickers and trash. I mean, and at some point, you hope that it's kind of like when you see one person hold the door open, no matter if a person is having a bad day or not, they're going to hold the door open for that next person, right? If they start seeing it enough. And I think we've got to get to a point where people start seeing us do it. I mean, I remember when the hurricanes came, one of my boys sent me a picture from last year. And I literally went to Barnett Park and helped people fill sandbags. And they was like, yo, what you doing? I'm like, I'm filling sandbags, bro. Well, what about? I was like, I ain't worried about sandbags at my house. I said, but there's a lot of older people. There's a lot of single women who
Mm-hmm.
don't have a man in the house. There's all kinds of people. There's people who don't even younger and they got both, but they don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to fill a sandbag. They haven't been taught these things. I'm like, these are
Like
basic
changing a
things that
tire.
people remember within your community. Community is a group of people. You have to be a community. You have to commune. You have to interact with these individuals and teach people what they don't know. Is wild. Like everybody say it take a village as long as they don't want to receive in the village, but they don't ever want to be a part of the village that gives it to somebody else. That's the craziest thing I ever understood in my life.
Before we keep going, we got 4 minutes left. I want to get to something he said. He said that it's landlocked and there isn't much. I want to cordially disagree with you. There's
Okay.
there's there's definitely a lot of commercial space there, and the commercial folks. A lot of the anchor tenants have disappeared. They just don't
Okay.
want to. They don't want to do business there. Those can 100% be revitalized and turned into something. That happened out on the other side of Orlando before you get to Pine Hills. They did that already, and they've done it throughout all other parts of Orlando. So
I
there's
know the
definitely
area.
space.
Yeah, I know the exact area that you're talking about. It's on the east side of the high school, right there where you get the duck between Silver Star and yeah, I know exactly what you're talking. And there are a lot of areas like that
So
could
so
be. I
here's the
agree.
actual question. Here's the actual question with that. If you could sit down, because I talk to developers. A lot of my audience that when you start going up the food chain and what we do, it's the actual developers. They're listening to stuff like this and seeing what they could change because they're going to invest. If you were able to speak to developers, what would you tell them to like bridge that gap for Pine Hills?
The thing I would tell them is this is going to become what I believe is the epicenter of the Orlando culture, and investing in this place, investing in this area, and giving people a sense of pride, similar to what they've done right there in the Fair Villa community, which is what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
They've changed that entire area, and it's not just a can of paint; it's infrastructure. It's doing things differently. I mean, even when I was in South Carolina, I saw it. It was the wildest thing ever. I saw they repurposed an old church into an Airbnb, and it was like one of the dopest Airbnbs I had ever seen. I didn't even know that that was a thing. I've heard of them doing it in Connecticut, where they turn old schools that were run down into apartment buildings. I think going into these things with fresh and new ideas will also give people a new look at what Pine Hills can be. You know, if you go into it with the same old, and you don't wave a different paintbrush, if you don't wave a different mindset, a different perception, then everything's going to stay the same. If they decide to come here and if they're willing to come here and come in here differently than they've ever come before, come in here honestly like you treat the white areas, um, and give these individuals a sense of someone else sees us, someone else cares about our day-to-day well-being and the way that we live, seeing that we are a part of I mean, every immigrant, the American dream is greater than what they've had, and so far for so many
Big
of them
facts.
that dream is literally skid row compared to what it could be and what it should be, and they're causing them just because a person will live in less than doesn't mean that they are less than as an individual. So I think that that's the big thing I would look at when talking to the developers, is treat the people with the same respect that you would want to be treated with when you were first starting out.
Love it. Love it. That's why I thought I figured you would go there. Real quick, I want to get some of these comments out the way because there was some heat coming through while we were talking. Um, Home Loan Drew said, let's talk about redlining, because he, of course, the loan guy wants to talk about redlining. That's a lot of that's what started this, but yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later. And then geographically, it could get west side. It could be west side Winter Park. Ooh, that's a crazy take. Pride of home ownership. Any lakefront properties in certain the lakefront properties in Pine Hills slept on.
Tons of
Rosemont
tons of
slept on.
tons of them. Tons
Yeah,
of them.
Slept on.
when I used to live in Rosemont years ago, I used to walk. That's where I used to walk around the area. And the crazy thing about Rosemont, you will not see a lot of for sale signs at all.
Oh hell
I
no.
have not.
They don't want to leave.
Bro, those are $1 million houses. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I remember going there as a kid. Those are $1 million houses. Like, it was nothing. It's not an exaggeration, bro. I remember the first rolls I saw was in Rosemont.
That's crazy.
90s. First rolls I ever saw was coming out of Rosemont, bro. Like,
So
let's be
what
real.
what was Rosemont zone for? What school district? That was always Edgewater or Evans, or it depends.
I think it depends on which side of the lake you were on, bro. Like
Okay.
which part of Rosemont. If you were on the side closer to, like, what's that, John Young, that technically was Edgewater. But if you were on closer to, North Lane and all that, you were on the Evans side. But it was literally depending on what side of the lake you were. But let's be honest, big homes were on all around that lake. So it ain't like just because you was on the North Lane side, you was poor. Like, nah, bro. Like, I remember going over there because my godmother used to live over there. That thing, it was nuts, bro. For real.
All right. So we're gonna transition to our last one real quick. I'm gonna stay on that topic. So real quick. So since we're talking about Rosemont, and there's no golf course there anymore, do you think now in 2025, if there was a golf course in Rosemont area, Pine Hills area, would it make a difference? And
Absolutely.
and you say no. Tell me why not.
Because golf isn't cool. I mean, golf isn't cool. And I hear you over there, but let me explain something to you. So golf is not cool because it's all about what you're doing at a younger age, right? So if I take the young men you were with earlier today at Evans High School, you play golf. You ain't gonna get no girls playing golf, bruh. Like, let's just be clear. Let's be real. Like, everything a man does, he does to incite a woman. I don't give a damn who you are. Everything you do is for the intention of a woman. Doesn't matter. Let me tell you something. A lot of people, Trey put on some stupid football pads at one point before he realized he was good to impress a girl. Like, let's just be real, right? And so it's all about the social aspect. We're not talking about playing golf to get on the PGA Tour, the LPGA Tour. We're talking about socially. And it's things that people can use as an identity thing. Yeah, is golf cool at this age that the three of us are in? Of course, because you can understand the life lessons of golf. You can see the value in the game of golf. You can see the things that it teaches you. You can see the, ability to be out in nature and peaceful. How many of y'all was thinking about that at 16? Nobody. Like, let's be clear. Let's be 100% exactly. So
who's thinking about that at 25?
Right. So golf is not cool, and I try, and I mean, I'm not being harsh about it. Most things that are good for you traditionally are not cool. The biggest things that you learn from in life traditionally are not cool. That doesn't mean that they don't have value. It doesn't mean that they don't have lessons, but it means that the masses aren't going to be able to grasp that. Like
What do you
understanding the
need to make it cool?
who, well, first things first that you have to do to make it cool, man, is you have to not be tolerated.
I
You
don't.
have
What
to,
does that mean? You gotta explain that one.
black people are not invited in the game, they're tolerated. Name a company that has a black ambassador. Don't worry, I'll wait. And don't be fooled by Instagram content creators, because those aren't ambassadors. Those are independent contractors that can be moved at the drop of a dime. When they were doing DE&I, what DE&I really was for white women. It had absolutely nothing to do with us. There were still no companies. No, go backwards. Go back and look at golf, okay? Go back and look at golf and tell me over the last, we're in 2025, since 2020 to 2025, how many black people have you seen on the face of a brand or the face of a commercial? Don't worry, I'll wait. And if you want to go with Tiger Woods, he ain't black, so I don't count him. Try again.
Of any brand?
Go for it. Any golf brand, bro. Find me one.
Oh, there's not one. It was only Tiger Woods, and you said he's not
Exactly.
black.
He's
it's
not
not
black.
one.
He got on Oprah and said he was cobbling Asian. So he's telling you he's not black, bro. He said it
Bro,
himself. Don't be mad at me.
stop. You crazy. There's
Bruh.
what you
Okay.
saying, what I hear you say is that he's not tapped into black culture. That's what I hear you say.
He's not
There's no way
black.
you don't look at him and say he's not black.
What you mean?
There's no way you don't look at that man and say he's
He
not black.
is black. What, for shizzle? What do you want me to say? He's not black, bro. The closest thing he got to being black, okay, he's got what a theoretically melanated skin, but you forget he's in the sun all day. So some of these white boys,
bro, what do you do? Theoretically melanated, bro? That's a crazy take.
Sorry,
you ain't been around Maurice.
Hey.
I call it like that. And the bad thing about it is black people want a savior so bad that they will take an abuser and call him a savior.
Well, let's talk about this real quick. So I'll put this in perspective for you, Omar, because I talked to Maurice about this. For him being the best long driver in golf, how many people reached out to you to be a sponsor? To be sponsored?
I have sponsors before I won my first world title. Then I have had since, and I've got 4 world titles. Oh, I'll give you a better one. I've won on
wait. You think that's, is it because you're black, or is it because of the sport? Because the sport itself needs to also grow.
I'm glad that you say that. Here's the thing. There are black influencers that get sponsorships, and they do nothing from a competitive standpoint. So, well, it's clearly because I'm real black. I'm not fake black, like your friend Tiger, and like the rest of the influencers. No, seriously. No. Like there's. So let me tell you this. There is a large difference between having a black person. So as a black male, and there are 3 black men on here, the first thing they'll tell you is that you're cocky and arrogant, versus if you're a white male, they tell you that you're competent and you're confident. That's the first thing. So
I can't have this conversation on.
You really like, dude.
Boy, you a wild boy.
Well, no,
you
but
are a wild boy.
I'll give you a story real quick, and it'll help you understand things. And this is why I go so hard with young black men. Okay, I went to Hiwassee Elementary after getting kicked out of 4 schools in the very local area, private schools for fighting. I used to fight all the time. I got expelled 4 times by the time I was in 4th grade. I remember there was this teacher who kicked me out of class when I was in 5th grade. And she kicked me out of class. I got kicked out of class all the time, though. But I remember going to my 4th grade teacher, and she was like, I just need you to go. So I went to my 4th grade teacher, and I remember before I walked out, she told me I was a galvanizer. I will never forget this as long as I live, brother.
I can see you, bro. You're saying some galvanizing things right now.
But here's the thing: who tells a 9-year-old that they're a galvanizer?
That just tells you your spirit is that, man. Like you.
Right. Okay. But watch this. Watch this. This is where it gets funky. I went to my 4th grade teacher, boo-hoo crying. And she was like, why are you crying? I was like, she kicked me out of class. It's an old black lady. She was like, baby, you get kicked out of class every week. What are you crying about? Like, why are you crying now? And I said, she called me a name. I didn't know what it was. And I was like,
Oh, that's a
she was
strong word at that age. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
right. She was like, well, what's the, and I couldn't pronounce it. I was like, yeah, and I couldn't get out. And she said, baby, did she call you a galvanizer? And I said, yes, ma'am. That's what it was. And she's like, well, why are you crying? I said, because it sounds so bad and I don't know what it means. And I remember she went into the dictionary, she looked up the word galvanizer, and then she also went into like one of these encyclopedias. And the examples that they had for galvanizers was the craziest thing in the world. Take a guess who the 3 galvanizers they had in that encyclopedia were.
Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. I don't know. Is it all white people?
Malcolm X was one.
Okay.
Marcus Garvey was the second one, and Haile
Marcus
Selassie.
Garvey and Selassie. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'm sitting there looking, and she was like, "You have no clue." She said, this lady thought that she was about to tear you down, but she spoke something so great on your life that you'll never understand. It took me 30 plus years to understand what that woman meant, and she's been dead and gone for a long. But what happens with a lot of young black men that have amazing talent is they're dwarfed early in life. They have a complex early in life. They're told that they'll never make it early in life. And then when they go into rooms that they're not supposed to be in, where they don't feel comfortable, where there aren't people who look like them, that complex shows. It fires. It finds a way. And that's the difference on what happens with me versus these other people. And so I have no problem standing tall and saying, no, Tiger Woods isn't black. No, these white people aren't doing this. I don't have a problem with it because I can support it with facts. Tiger wasn't cool. Tiger wasn't around black people until he got in the problem over there in Iowa. And all his sponsors left and all these other people. You ain't seen Tiger around nobody. 2018 was the first time when he went to Eastlake that Tiger was around Outkast and Big Boy and Killer Mike and all. He wasn't around niggas before then. He was.
There's a bunch of black charities that say stuff like that.
Right. Remember, Dave Chappelle did a whole skit on him. It wasn't that, and people forget that it wasn't that they were picking on Tiger. It was Tiger. Tiger did this in his interview when Oprah said he was black, and he said, "No, I'm America's boy." See, there are certain words that a person out of the admission of their own mouth. Maya Angelou said, when a person says who they are, you better believe them when the first time. So he told us who he was. Now, what he did was try to roll with black people. But remember, black people are the abused. We are the abused. We have been abused our entire existence on this continent. So what do? We find anything, even an abuser, to find our way to say, well, that's one of us. Well, he ain't really, no, but there's a piece of him that's like us.
We do that. I ain't gonna lie about that.
Yeah, that abused mindset. We love the people that hate us the most. We the only people out there who say, oh man, I want to thank all my haters. For what? I ain't thanking no haters for nothing. When you in school, what did they tell you? As an athlete, you put that fast food in your body.
God.
Your body give you the greatest performance. So why am I going to internalize the haters? Why am I going to internalize the adversity? Why am I going to use that to fuel me? Hell no. I ain't never going to use that to fuel me. Ain't never going to happen, brother. I'm only going to use positive love to fuel
Omar brought up Tiger Woods because they cousins, but that's the whole other subject.
Oh, okay, cool. That's great.
Bro, how dare you, sir?
No,
hey,
but so real quick.
If Tiger's your cousin is a phenomenal athlete. He is probably one of the greatest golfers of all time, but as a black man, he's trash.
So on that last note right there, we're going to transition because look, so real quick, yeah, well, Tiger Woods kind of messed his name up anyway, but we already know the reason why. But anyways, we're going to transition to this real quick. So we're about to end off. So We're gonna transition to your Niagara Falls clip real quick and talk about that, and we'll end off with your Ric Flair. So hold on 1 second, so everybody can see this real quick.
So sad.
Ball out. That's got a chance. Get through, get through, get through, get through.
Oh my God, that's the long form. That's the wrong one. Like a 5-minute hit, bro.
Huh? Not, yeah.
Well, lucky day out here, isn't it, you?
Yeah, that's like a 5-minute
Honestly,
video.
you know what's funny? I could see more when I was
Hold
down
on.
there. Up here, I legitimately see less.
Yeah,
This is
guys,
gonna be a
it's
long
not
time.
looking good. I think we should call it. You copy
Funny
that?
thing about this video, so if you look at that,
Just
look at
wait.
the side of my hat, see how it says on it? It's a company out of Texas. And I remember when I hit the ball across Niagara Falls, I texted the rep for that company. And the dude sent me a text back and said, that's not really that big of a deal.
What, hitting the ball over Niagara Falls?
Hey, brother, I can't make up the racism, brother. I just tell y'all what it is, what I've experienced. That's what I'm saying. I'm not. So here's the thing. I'm not making it up. I've lived it. Like the thing about it, early in my career, man, I used to have death threats all the time. Like I'm talking about in 2014, 2013. People were like, "Oh, we gonna kill you." I'm like, "All right, well, here's where I'll be if that's what you want to do."
So,
I mean,
question: how amazed? Just real quick, how amazed were you at this moment right here? While I'm looking at you, like this looks amazing. So, the Avis came out here, set this whole platform up, all these cameras and every single thing. How'd you feel about this experience?
so I'll ask you this: how would you feel if you accomplished one of the greatest things ever to be done in history and no one knew about it? That's how I feel about this.
I'm not going to diminish this, but why are you calling it one of the greatest things ever to do? Why are you calling it that?
It was just a challenge. That it was something. I mean, it's very difficult to hit it. If you look at the flags when I hit it, it was into the wind, going through the mist. John Daly tried it. They would have deemed it as a world record from Guinness. See how the flags are moving now? Flags are going backwards. It was something that, you know, he had tried. He was allegedly the greatest person to ever do it, blah, 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 blah. And when I did it, if you look, there's nobody there because they closed the whole park off. They didn't want people to know because they were filming. We tried to, that ball there actually made it across. They found it later, the second shot. And then when we got ready to put it out to the media, they never, even to this day, no golf publication has picked it up. Golf Channel did a small blurb on it, a very small blurb on it, but Golf Digest, golf.com, none of those. I mean, even when we went back to do the plaque, which has now been stolen, Golf Digest or golf.com, one or two of them, they spent more time trying to write a story saying I never hit the ball across and all this was crazy camera work and somebody threw the ball. Even though you could see the ball landing there, they said they threw it, that I never hit the ball across. So, yeah, I mean, it's cool that it was done, but it's sad that they tried to cheapen it and say it was camera tricks and foolishness. And you have to understand, now you'll go to your other clip, which is me and the Ric Flair. And it was like,
I'm not hearing that. Listen, at the end of the day, you're probably seeing I'm outside the sport, so you're probably seeing all the negative things and all the negative things that people say. But this probably single-handedly brought more attention to your sport than any other thing. Other than when they started during COVID, when they started, like everybody was at home looking at it. But by that time, they were already on the map because you helped them put it on the map with this.
yeah, but
What are we talking about?
This didn't get no one. They would not put this anywhere in the media. And the only reason why Golf Channel didn't want to do it, they put up like a little 20-30-second blurb. If you look up the Golf Channel feed on it, they didn't even interview me. I wasn't worth getting a live studio interview to talk about it. Nothing like that. I mean, I'm just
Bro,
telling you.
who was a production company? This is not cheap, man. This is good cameras.
So this is Avis. Avis and I did this thing started in 2018. It was a thing saying, is it drivable? And I used to hit the ball all over the place. If you look up, is it drivable? It was a whole series that they did. Funnier part of that is I actually never got a free rental from Avis ever in my life. Even when we went back, no, I'm serious.
He had to
Even
pay
when
for the rental to get there.
even when we went back last year to do the commemorative thing for the plaque and everything,
What?
I reached Avis, never heard anything from them. Like,
Bro, this
so
man literally just showed the app right there in the clip.
yeah, so I got paid from Avis to do that one thing, but I didn't make any money off of that at all. I made 20 grand for doing something no one has ever done ever in the history of the world and never will do again. I mean, if I was
That's
anybody else,
crazy.
when John Daly and them tried it, I mean, he probably made 150, 200 grand and he failed. But here's the difference, though. This goes back to my conversation earlier. Just hear me all the way out. Now, the reason
I'm
why the
hearing you.
Ric Flair gets a lot of attention is because it's a black man doing something
The
entertaining. So this back to slave days, right? You know, I can be the entertainment. I could be this. I could be the hey, how you doing, boss? I could be that guy. But what I could never be is I could never be your colleague.
all right. So
I can't be
since you
your
just said
equal.
since
And
you just
so
said
to
Ric
acknowledge
Flair,
that, yeah, here we go. Now this different.
Somebody asked me before how I feel, so I guess the best thing I can tell you is you talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, limousine riding, jet flying, son of a gun. And I'm having a hard time
Play the
holding
whole
these
clip, though.
alligators down. Now give me 2 claps and a Ric Flair. Woo!
And see, they'll show me probably hitting the ball on this clip.
A higher ball speed. Oh, look at that carry. There's a bounce.
Across the 480 mark.
They're all flighting it flatter down there. They got that flat.
Nice, long, deep internal talk with himself in between his 2 sets. There's a good one. It stays in on the left.
Yeah, 214. Look at the apex at 150. A little high, but this is hot. Big carry, 410. But it's a mark.
Yeah, that's the first ball on the board for either player.
But the thing is, wait for this right here.
Welcome to the new world of sport, baby. This is action-packed. This is sport.
do
So
you
the
still
funny
have
is-
that same energy on the
See the incredible crowd, and we
Yeah,
are
but-
just
Hold on,
about
pause that real quick, Trey. Hold up, pause that. They probably didn't know how to act until they saw you and they're like, oh, we could do that? Like we can
Well, and they still like they still don't know. It's like either you have something or you don't, right? The term today would be authentic, right? And so for them, it's all a show. They're trying to play a character, and for me, I mean, I've just always been the person like Trey will tell you, I grind hard, bro. Like even before we did this, I did my miles, and I'll go work out again after we get off. So I mean, that's just it, and I'll be up in the morning back at it again. But I'm gonna always have fun because when it's time to compete, that's the time to show. That's the time to have fun, right? And as an athlete, you're an entertainer, so you want people to see that they can have fun while they're doing this, and that's what makes it different. But yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of things that maybe one day somebody will do a Netflix doc or something like this, and the world will really be able to see what I've accomplished and what I've done, but the vast majority of it never got any play because that means that other people who didn't look like me had to call me their equal or acknowledge that I was better than them. And that is a very tough place in history to be.
real quick, man. That's powerful, bro. Real quick, we have some West Side legends. Alicia Way say, "What's up? Good evening, fellas." And fire emojis. I think he's a Jones graduate, if I'm not mistaken.
so
Okay.
I'm
the
not locked
home,
down himself.
so home loan Drew to finish off for the night. He said, "Do you think Red Bull would have been a better sponsor for you for that?"
I tried Bull and they told me no. I tried
Really?
everything. I went everywhere. I went, and that's the thing. It was wild. When we looked at it, I think in 2017, I was somewhere just around 300 million views, something like that. The number was absolutely ridiculous.
For what? For
crazy.
that one event or overall?
just
What are we talking about?
season. Through the whole season, I was at an astronomical amount of views, but
What?
because so if you look at golf in 2017, the only people who had more publicity than I had and I'm talking about PGA Tour, was Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, Ricky Fowler, Dustin Johnson, and then who was the other one? There were 5 people. I think it was Sergio Garcia that year. But there were only 5 people even on the PGA Tour that had more viewership. And I mean, I was on TV every week. I won 7 events that year, which was unheard of. And every time you won an event, you got on Golf Channel. Golf Channel never wanted me on Golf Channel. Like, they hated my guts. And I don't blame them. Like, real talk. I mean, I don't know what I can say on here, what I can't, but I used to do some real.
You don't know what you can say, bro. You think you've been saying this whole time?
Oh, I haven't said anything.
You said Tiger Woods ain't black.
No, that's the truth, though, bro. I don't know what else to tell you. But I mean, like, I've always represented for the culture, and I think that the difference is, like, for me, black culture has never been less than. It's never been secondary, right? It's always been above and beyond. Like, if you look at Harlem Renaissance, if you look at Tulsa, if you look at all these places where black people thrive, it was never second rate. It was never like BET Uncut. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't that. It was like top tier stuff. So I made sure when I went places, I implemented, I mean, my whole career, every time I went to a city, I held a kids camp every time. And so that was something. I remember the first year when I won Worlds the first time, I was on national TV talking about giving 25 grand to Evans. And then when we actually went to Evans to give the money, they were like, yeah, we don't feel like we need to put this on TV. I mean,
what he's saying, he's not lying. I'm not going to bring that up. But even he had challenges. I'll say we was all working together. We had challenges that $140,000 went away, had to work hard to get it back at the last minute. And they said it up front. I was there when he got me a check. They said they was going to give more money. I was there when they said it. It went away. He got it back. So what he's saying is definitely true. So, and that's just for me, just knowing him for not a little bit of time. So I can imagine through all the years of I've been rocking with him, how many times that he actually dealt with that, and he would told me if I have seen it. So I had experienced where he's coming from, and he had to go in the paint to get what he had to get for the kids. But it's just an inspiration to show people that doesn't matter what's getting thrown out on what rock, what tunnel, whatever he's going through, he's going to get through it regardless and figure out a way. Like, for anybody who's watching this episode, just understand that adversity always comes. How do you handle the adversity? Do you still keep going, or do you stop? What does that look like for you? Like, where you at in the situation where you at in your life right now? What does that look like? Are you in adversity? Are you having hard times? Are you getting rocks thrown at you? How do you handle that? Do you just stop, or do you just keep on going? And like, you're a person, Maurice, that I rock with you all the time. We go to the gym and stuff you do with the kids. You just keep on going, even when you maybe do 40 reps. It's ridiculous, you guys. 40 reps, 50 reps. Oh my God! But
he's quitting. He's quitting on 40 reps.
No, I didn't quit.
Like, real talk. Like, to the people who are literally taking the time to watch this, the same God you praying to, maybe even the people you don't like, potentially your enemy, is praying to the same God. Understand that. And when it's your time to shine, you got to make the most of it, because nothing lasts forever, not even life itself. So for me, one thing, I truly love my people. I truly love my city. And I don't mean Orlando, not even in the least bit. Even that plaque that's in Niagara, it said Pine Hills on it. I've never been introduced from Orlando, Florida. I never will be introduced from Orlando, Florida. Every golf bag I've carried got 2 dates on it: 1887 and 4949. 1887 for FAMU and 4949 for Silver Star Road, Maynard Evans High School, because those are 2 places that made me the individual that I am. And until the day I die, as long as I got breath in my body, I'm gonna go hard for both of those places, and OMYGA being one of the other things as well. I mean, you have to find something that you're willing to die for. Otherwise, you haven't found a reason to live. And so for a lot of people, it may be their family, but understand that your family extends past the people under your roof, because nobody makes it in this world alone, and nobody can do it without the help of others. So just like you want people to go hard and you want people to respect for you, you got to do the same thing for other people. You got to look out for other people. So when people tell me no about doing things with these kids, when they tell me no about giving money to my community, I go and I just keep finding a different way, because I know that there's a purpose, and I believe in the talent that's within the borders of my community. And I want those kids to know that there are people who genuinely care about them and love them and see the talent within them, regardless if they can't see it for themselves at that moment.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you saying them kind words, my brother. I'm gonna go ahead and end it off like this.
And Tiger Woods still ain't black.
Man, don't listen to anything he says. But I hope you guys enjoyed this segment here. We only want to bring on people that we know we can touch and know that they're real. That's Maurice. I've been, like I said, I've been knowing him for the last, I say, almost year and a half, 2 years. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We're out. Anything you got to say, Omar?
Listen, put all three. I want to bring him up too, man. Hey, I want to appreciate for you even coming on. This is 8:00. I could tell you're a hustler. I could tell as soon as you got on that you got an athletic mind. You got a mind that is driven. So I appreciate you coming in at 8:00 at night, rocking with us until 9:30 to tell the people about what Pine Hills is. You know, this is literally what me and Tremaine talked about. I would love to get offline and talk more deep because on the airways it's very hard. On the airways, it's very hard to have that kind of conversation and still try to make money in real estate. I'm just being real with you, but
We'll have lunch. We'll sit
I'm
down.
glad you could say that. But I appreciate everybody for rocking with us, man. Real talk.
All right, you guys. Well, good night, everyone, and y'all enjoy y'all night. Peace.
49.